Big Dick coming to you from Saskatchewan here today with a quick Dick Big Dick Toonie, where you get $2 worth of my opinion because 2 cents just don't buy very much anymore. And today, we're talking about the Saskatchewan legislature.
No, I've got the perfect title for this Toonie. Harrison's statements are weak and false.
All right, so here's the nuts and bolts of this. So you've got the Speaker of the House and the Legislative Assembly in Saskatchewan, Randy Weeks, MLA for Bigger Kindersley, loses his nomination in his riding. And if you've been watching the antics going on in the Legislative Assembly leading up to the summer break, of course, because politicians, along with everybody else, need the fucking summer off, you'd see that things were getting pretty heated between Weeks and a few other members of the Legislative Assembly, and he's reading out a whole bunch of text messages that Harpower and Harrison and everybody were sending him. But, like, really, are we texting the Speaker of the House, grossing him out, or are we going to have the balls to stand up and talk about it in the Legislative Assembly? There was one, really heated exchange where he asked Harrison to withdraw a comment, and Harrison just kind of leans into the comment and withdraws it, and he's like, stand up, you will respect this chamber, which, good on him for saying it. It's what you need to say. You got to respect this. But, I mean, essentially, we've got a couple of grown men fighting like a bunch of kids in the Legislative Assembly, and then Weeks comes out and makes a whole bunch of allegations on the last day that the ledge is sitting, some of which included intimidating text messages and being harassed and having people lunge at him in the ledge. And one included House Leader of the Sask Party, Jeremy Harrison, bringing a gun into the ledge, which then the Premier did also dismiss as sour grapes because he lost his nomination in his riding.
At this point, I can't attribute it to anything more than just, sour grapes that he wasn't successful in the nomination.
So then Harrison has a chat with the Premier of Saskatchewan, Scott Moe, and says, hey, no, this is false. These are false accusations. And then the Premier comes out in front of the province and states that Weeks' claims are unequivocally false. Unequivocally false.
They are all unequivocally false.
Okay, fine. If they're unequivocally false, that means that there was no intimidation, there was no harassment, and there was no gun brought into the ledge. It's all false, right? So everything's completely false, and then after the weekend off, Harrison comes back and he's like, oh, actually, there was that one time that I brought a hunting rifle into the ledge. Then an email surfaces that's partially redacted and there's some names out of them, but it's obviously from the Sergeant-at-Arms at the ledge that encountered Harrison coming into the ledge dressed in camouflage, carrying a gun case, not giving anybody notice that he's coming in. I'm one of the most pro-gun guys that you're ever going to find out here on the prairies, but please tell me who in their right mind thinks it's a good idea to dress in camo and rip up the steps to the ledge with a gun in a case without telling somebody that you're coming. Which brings us up to speed here now, where we have the leader of the NDP demanding that he be removed from cabinet and caucus, and everyone's demanding an independent investigation. Then there's a whole bunch of people on the other political side of the spectrum that are saying, this is a nothing burger, it happened in 2016, and we're just making a mountain out of a molehill. Well, first of all, it doesn't matter when it happened. It matters that you said it didn't happen, and it did. And now, I'm wondering what the hell is going on, because there's two different sides of the story of what was going on with this firearm that was brought into the ledge. I mean, it's one thing to come out and say, oh yeah, I checked you in with the ledge and everything's fine and it's no big deal and I just brought it in, I didn't want it to get stolen out of my pickup. Well, that's one thing. But when this email shows up saying that you come walking into the ledge in camouflage with your head down and they're starting to get panicked and they're going to radio that somebody's bringing a gun into the ledge, I mean, that's a little bit different than what you're saying. And, okay, so you don't want to leave your firearm in your pickup because you're afraid it's going to get stolen. That's two things. Thing number one is it's exactly what you should have done. It's being a responsible firearms owner, and that's the exact statement that you should have said when Weeks said, oh yeah, he brought a gun into the ledge. You're like, actually, you're 100% right. And I would recommend that everybody that has a firearm doesn't leave it unattended in their vehicle, whether the vehicle's locked or not. They should have it cased and take it with them and have it stored someplace secure with no ammo in it so that it doesn't fall into the hands of criminals. Yeah, great. You could have spun that and made it work in your favor, but you didn't. You got shit on playing politics, and you tried to lie about it, and look where you wound up now. Now, thing number two, it is saying that you brought it in because you didn't want to get stolen from the ledge. It makes you and your party look like you're completely incompetent. You've been in government for 20 years, and you're telling me that you go to work at the Legislative Assembly as an MLA, and you can't park your vehicle in the parking lot because you're afraid that crime is so bad it's going to get broken into and the fucking firearm stolen out of it? Maybe you should go talk to the Minister of Public Safety, like Paul Merriman, and be like, you know what, guys, we got a real problem here. I mean, even our vehicles are getting broken into in the ledge. We've just kind of blown this for the last 20 years. you just canceled out any argument you could possibly make that crime is so bad you guys have done fuck all to fix it. Like, maybe have a talk with the city of Regina, have a talk with Mayor Masters and be like, hey, we need to get crime under control here, not just on the streets where there's people ODing in public, but even where we go to work as MLAs. We can't leave our trucks unattended. Give me a fucking break. Now, is this sour grapes from weeks and he's going full scorched earth policy on his way out? Well, maybe, but guess what? It doesn't matter, because what you said you didn't do, you did, and blew all your credibility in this situation. And then in some statement, you're like, oh yeah, well, you know, there's a few messages I sent him that I wish I wouldn't have, in which I swore at him in them. What the fuck? You're a member of the Legislative Assembly and you're texting the speaker swearing at him, and now you want to be like, no, he's just got sour grapes and everything's fine? Well, guess what? It's not fine. Because there's a whole bunch of constituents out here in the province of Saskatchewan that have taken the most important thing to us, which is our vote, and given it to you. That means that when you're sitting in the Legislative Assembly of our province representing us, you don't low-key, cowardly text people a bunch of garbage that are supposed to be a nonpartisan, independent speaker in the House. You stand your ass up in that Legislative Assembly and you represent your constituents by voicing what you have to say, not being a coward and texting it with a bunch of swear words attached to it. There's one solution and one solution only, and that's a completely independent investigation to get figured out what the fuck is going on in our Legislative Assembly in Saskatchewan. Now, for those of you out there that are all pissy at me, that are like, Quick Dick, what are you talking about? Oh, this is a nothing burger and it happened 10 years ago. This is a credibility issue, all right? And I want credibility from politicians, especially if it's a party that I've voted for. But let me ask you this. If you were looking at things federally, and tomorrow, Stephen Guilbeault tried to walk into the Parliament buildings in Ottawa in camouflage with a long gun that was cased, and then he sent a whole bunch of inappropriate text messages to Greg Fergus, the Speaker of the House, which is a whole mess in itself. And then they called him on it, and Justin Trudeau came out and said this is unequivocally false, and then it was proven the next day to actually not be false. You'd want all their heads on a platter, wouldn't you? So why is it any different right now? Doesn't matter what party it is. It means it's an elected member that has your support that needs to be accountable.
Listen, if you want to fling mud at Ottawa and tell them how terrible of a job they're doing, fine, good, that's great. I'm here for that fight. But I'll tell you what, we better make sure our own doorstep is swept off first before we start talking about the garbage that's sitting on everybody else's.
This is Quick Dick McDick signing off, reminding you that democracy survives and has stability when you have a government that's open and honest and has accountability. Catch you next time.